Over the years, the standards of wrestling have increased so much that in order to achieve a great pay-per-view nowadays, you have to pretty much knock it out of the park with every match. With AJ Styles retiring and seeing some of those old TNA characters on WWE telly, it got me thinking. And today, I am going to bring you my favourite TNA pay-per-view. You're welcome, by the way, and you're even more welcome to request a pay-per-view review on Patreon. But this one today demonstrates TNA at its best, with its best roster, best matches, and a company on a hot streak. Believe it or not, but back then they were on fire, and they were very slowly dragging a few fans away from the WWE. A truly exciting time for TNA, where it seemed like anything was possible. I'm the Hawk, and this is Sacrifice 2007, save a spot in wrestling heaven. First off, yes, it's in the Impact Zone like everything was back then, and really that's my only gripe. Except back then, the Impact Zone was actually really into the show, so it's not so bad. The X Division title will be on the line in the opening match. It's a triple threat between three TNA X Division legends. The challengers for the belts are Black Machismo Jay Lethal, who had recently adopted this gimmick thanks to his friend Kevin Nash and the Paparazzi Productions. The other challenger is Sonjay Dutt, who has been jealous of Lethal's friendship with Kevin Nash. They used to be best buds. And the champion is Chris Sabin, who's just starting to find his footing as an arrogant, cocky heel champion. We start with Chris Sabin letting Sonjay Dutt get a pin because he wants to see if he can make Lethal and Sonjay fight each other. They don't, and instead they both try a hip toss at the same time on Sabin. They then both take turns hitting Japanese arm drags to Sabin. Jay Lethal tries to sneak a pin on Sabin now, but the best friends still refuse to fight. Chris Sabin goes charging and they launch him out of the ring. Now they're ready to fight. Really nice trade-off where neither of them can catch each other for ages. Sonjay does eventually catch him in a camel clutch as Sabin returns with a dropkick. Sabin wants to do the same thing, but instead, Sonjay kicks Sabin. Nice head scissors from Sonjay now, this crowd are loving life. Sabin does a move to send the friends together now and he hits a kick and a DDT at the same time. Big old kick to the back of Jay Lethal now for a 2 count. Jay Lethal finally manages to fight back with a nice head scissors counter in the corner. Chris Sabin trips him up, but Sonjay also has a trip up in store for Sabin. Big diving double axe from Lethal to Sabin now. No time to celebrate though as Sonjay does the acai moonsault to the outside. Back in the ring and Chris Sabin is humping Sonjay's head on the top rope, but he fails on his Frankensteiner. Sabin dodges Sonjay's missile dropkick however, which hits Lethal instead. Sabin boots him away and removes Lethal from the ring. They then take a break from the match to show Stomper, apparently the new TNA mascot. I thought that was the Hulkster brother. Sabin doesn't seem to be in a rush to win this match. He pays for that as Sonjay dives in him with a head scissors. Jay Lethal quickly hits him with a sit-out flapjack. After a nice clothesline from Sabin, we have a triple down. Sonjay is up first, kicking Sabin and crushing him across the ropes. He comes back with a springboard There's press to Lethal for a 2. Sabin makes a return now and he smashes them both together in the corner with several attacks. Nice full Nelson overhead suplex from Lethal now, not one you see anymore really. Jay Lethal drops the Macho Man elbow drop, but the pin is broken up. Lethal keeps going with a lethal combination. Sonjay breaks at the pin with a 450. This finally earns a "This is awesome" chant from the crowd. They weren't so generous back then with that chant apparently. Lethal and Sonjay start arguing about something and then Sabin sneaks a roll-up win on Sonjay for the 3. What an opener! And not just a great match, but it also furthered the storyline between the other two guys. They brawl and big sexy Kevin Nash has to break up his two sons fighting. Dutt kicks Kevin Nash in his bad leg, which is quite upsetting. But that aside, it's time for a segment. Because I just love segments, it's time for the Taz Factoid of the Week.
I got a factoid for both you guys. I got a boil on my ass.
Did you know that Sonjay Dutt would somehow not capture the X Division title for an entire decade after this? By the time he finally won that belt, he was far past his best and nobody was watching the show anymore anyway. A damn shame. But this match wasn't a damn shame, it was a great opener and it got the crowd ready for the show. 4 stars. In the back, and Robert Roode is with his manager, Tracy Brooks. Roode owns Eric Young's TNA contract and he says that he sent him home tonight. Roode will be facing somebody else tonight. That somebody else has been trying to stand up to Roode for his bullying of Eric Young. Roode says by winning his match tonight, it will elevate his own career by beating a legend. But who will that legend be? No, not Kevin Nash, who somehow has blue hair. He is threatening Sonjay Dutt and he's going to beat him up on Impact. It's also not the legends of the new Age Outlaws who were seen greeting fans before the show before they were jumped by the Bashams brothers and then they smashed Road Dogg through a table. Robert Roode makes his way out to the ring, so we are about to find out who the legend is. But who will it be? Well, find out in just a moment, but first a quick word from our sponsors.
Who's that wrestler?
Well, here he comes. a wild Slapnuts appears.
Jarrett.
Bit of a break from the main event for Slapnuts around this time. Also, Slapnuts as a good guy always feels a bit strange to the Hawk. Roode attacks him during his huge pyro, which is only specially reserved for Slapnuts. This pyro is out of control as the attack continues. Roode drops him on the crowd barrier. Bobby Roode tries a pile driver, which Slapnuts turns around on the outside. Jarrett throws him into a fence, and it is a dramatic start here. Then to the ring, and the bell finally sounds. Slappy quickly squashes Roode on the ropes, and he starts doing the Slapnut strut. Jeff is in full control, so Tracy Brooks distracts him, allowing Roode to smack him one from behind. Jarrett bashes into the steps now. It truly has been a breathless start, and the match does threaten to slow until Jarrett starts hitting Roode, and then he almost sneaks a backslide roll-up before Roode smacks him one back down. Bobby Roode fails at a dive and he gets a boot to the meathead. Slapnuts is awake now and he gets a 2 off a Slapnut snap slam. Roode escapes a sleeper with a nice leg pick and he puts on the figure 4. The manager isn't scared to help Roode either. Jarrett eventually gets free, but Roode won't stop his legwork. Roode does his own moron strut. Jarrett almost wins off a small package due to that. Then we have a double down. Back on their feet, and Jarrett throws Roode into the air and then boots him in the slash zone. The ref just doesn't care for some reason. Slappy locks on his own figure 4. Tracy takes the ref to stop him from seeing Roode tapping out. Jarrett releases the hold, and Tracy continues being a dick as Roode exposes the turnbuckle. They battle for ages, but neither is strong enough to use the exposed metal yet. The referee and Roode fight over the steel chair, which comically bounces the chair into Roode's head. Slapnuts nails the stroke, and it's not over because Miss Brooks is still being a dick. The ref throws her out of here, quite literally. Bobby Roode smacks Jarrett one with the handcuffs, but it's yet another 2. So many false finishes in this one. Now Roode has the guitar, but this ref is like Brock Lesnar. He shoves Roode almost into a Jarrett stroke. Roode then fights off the figure 4, kicking Jarrett into the exposed turnbuckles, and he hits the fisherman suplex for the 3. Roode has the microphone. He says that he's going to hit Slapnuts with his guitar. Jarrett avoids this and he locks on a figure 4. Ms. Brooks is back, and in slow motion she looks to hit Slapnuts in the back of the head with the guitar. But Eric Young is here and he makes the save and he locks Tracy in the figure 4. Roode wins, but everybody is happy at the end of the match. Very enjoyable without the insane action from the first match, 3 stars. In the back, it's Christian Cage and he's throwing his own wacky victory party with the very wacky Christian Coalition. AJ Styles basically thinks that Christian is his dad at this point. Scott Steiner just hangs around with Christian because he keeps being promised title shots. Steiner starts screaming that his partner for tonight is missing. His partner is Tomko. These two have not been getting on as Steiner keeps calling him a redneck. The wacky AJ Styles makes fun of Samoa Joe's towel. The others don't seem very supportive of Styles tonight. Christian says he's going to retain his title and make sure that the other challengers destroy themselves. Christopher Daniels out next, dressed in a Sting mask. They have desperately been trying to make a character work for him, but nothing really clicked for Daniels until he started hanging around with Kaz in 2013. Daniels isn't actually facing Sting though, instead he's facing the War Machine Rhino. What a roster that they had. We get this one started with Rhino overpowering Daniels and knocking his head off. Don West tells us that Rhino has a wide body. Rhino's all over him now like a bad shirt hitting a bat body drop. He throws Daniels the apron and he tries to dive, but he dives straight into a belly to belly. Daniels has enough left to avoid the gore. Daniels then tries to outsmart him and dives out the ring, which fails, and Rhino hits a clothesline. Rhino misses his dive too, but he's fine and he hits a hip toss to Daniels on the outside. Rhino tries a gore again, but again he misses. Christopher Daniels kicks him into the crowd barrier. Daniels is now working on Rhino's arm and he smashes him with a jumping armbar in the ring. Rhino eventually overpowers him with a backbreaker and a snap slam. Rhino's in way too much pain to capitalise as Daniels kicks him and hits an STO for a 2. Rhino with a dodge in the corner now and a spinebuster for a 2. Daniels does a nice takedown of his own and he keeps trying submissions, but he doesn't have enough to get the job done. Nice TKO from Rhino now, but his injuries are causing slow pins. Daniels starts losing the plot and he almost pays for that as Rhino hits a weak gore for a 2. Chris Daniels leaves the ring where he finds a bat, which he smashes into Rhino's head from the outside, and that gets Daniels the 3. A fine, kind of middle-of-the-road match, 2.5 stars. Rhino screams into the microphone that his nights will not end like this, and he chases Daniels away. After a moment, Rhino throws Daniels back down the ramp. Rhino absolutely creams him in the head with a steel chair. He sets up 2 more chairs as the crowd dump in their nappies with approval. Unfortunately, security stop him from hitting the Rhino driver. Now is the time for the low point of this show, but don't worry, it's not even that low. Basically, the New Age Outlaws have been trying to stop Christy Hemme from getting TV time as women don't have a place on the show and they have been cutting promos about what a little slut she is. Our heroes don't have control for long though, as Christy Hemme brings in the Basham brothers to have her back and fight back against the men who have tried to hold her down her entire career, and she fights for women's rights. Yes, Christy Hemme, the woman whose most memorable wrestling moment is sitting on pies.
The woman that I am, the person that I am.
Let me tell you something, you little slut.
I don't know if you know about that ladder to success. Before you go up, you gotta go down.
It's a very strange feud where in 2026 the dynamic would almost certainly be switched. Billy Gunn cuts a heroic promo about the attack on Road Dogg from earlier. He says that even though Road Dogg has been sent to hospital, he will still beat up everybody and then he's going to get Christy Hemme. That match is up next. The Basham brothers, who had been under WWE contract just 6 months earlier, versus Billy Gunn. Billy is a hawk on fire and he starts with a big boot. He tries an early famouser, which is avoided by the Basham brother. The Bashams make a blind tag and they double smack Billy down. Now a double team flapjack. These guys are Jim Cornette's favourite tag team for some reason. Billy is getting worked over and Hemme is taking cheap shots. Eventually the two morons are sent together. Billy Gunn hits a big back suplex. Billy starts smacking anything that moves. Big back body drop from Billy now, but the Damager grabs him and hits a sit-out choke bomb. Basham also flies with a diving headbutt, and it's over. Billy Gunn has been beaten. They're all bad winners and continue attacking Billy Gunn. Basham hits him with a Rough Rider, and Billy Gunn is then saved by Lance Hoyt. Lance would hang around with the New Age Outlaws trying to shove it to Christy Hemme and her women's rights, before eventually joining Christy Hemme and forming the Rock and Rave Infection. For some reason, Billy Gunn keeps trying to shove his hand up Lance Hoyt's hole. That was the low point of the show, but it was still perfectly bearable. Unless you're Lance Hoyt, that is. The show picks up now because it's time for two former tag team partners to collide. James Storm and Chris Harris, America's Most Wanted, the most decorated TNA tag team champions. They broke up after James Storm smashed glass in his eyelid, and Harris has been chasing Storm for 5 months since and wearing an eye patch, but Storm keeps escaping him. James Storm is also entering the best part of his career. It's all good stuff. Chris Harris is wearing some of their old merch. He is very upset about James Storm trying to end his career. He promises to ruin James Storm's life. Alright, so it's a Texas death match. The Cowboy James Storm managed by the Pride of Tennessee Jackie Moore. A Texas death match is a match where you just pin your opponent and then also you have to keep your opponent down for a 10 count. Chris Harris finally gets his chance to hit James Storm. He starts by ripping up his America's Most Wanted shirt. The fight of course starts on the ramp. Harris flips him on the ramp using handcuffs and a clothesline into the crowd. They head to the back of the arena where Harris is trying to send Storm over a fence. It's a very chaotic crowd brawl to start the show. James Storm goes flying into a wall. Harris is starting to enjoy himself as he finishes off a beer in the ring. Then, completely out the blue, Chris Harris dives off the top and into the crowd. Maybe it was Dutch courage. Harris makes the cover for the 3 on Storm. The ref's count starts, but Storm gets back up at 8. James Storm finally gets some offense in now, throwing a chair into Harris's face, which leaves him hanging from the top rope. James Storm then batters him in the face with the chair even more. The crowd was shocked by that hardcore chair shot. And at this point, unfortunately, we're going to need the blue filter, as this is one of the messiest brawls in TNA history. Storm sets up a table. Storm puts him on the top rope where he fails on a Frankensteiner. Chris Harris catapults Storm into the bottom of the table. Storm manages to fight off a table suplex for kick to the slash zone. James Storm then picks up Harris and throws him through the table with the Eye of the Storm. That of course gets Storm the 3. But will it get him a 10 count? No it will not. Storm sets up another table on the outside, but he fails to powerbomb Harris out of the ring, but he does drop Harris on the apron where he crushes him with a draping DDT. James Storm fills the ring with more weapons. Storm takes too long though, and out of nowhere Harris spears him off the apron and through the table. Jackie stops Harris from making a pin. We're back in the ring now, where Chris Harris misses a chair shot as Storm kicks it back into his face. Somehow just a 2 count. They start hitting each other in the head with weapon shots back and forth. Harris gets sick of that now, and instead he does a catatonic into the trash can. Once again, how does that not get the 3? Jackie gets involved again, and this time Gail Kim rushes down the ramp and drags Jackie away. What a roster, man. Both men end up with a glass bottle. Harris smashes his shot first, and this time it's the 3 count. James Storm is unable to make it back up, and it's over. Definitely one of my favourite matches of all time in TNA between 2 up-and-coming stars. Despite that, somehow it was all downhill from here for Chris Harris. 4.5 stars. Daniels meets with his big brother Sting and he says something isn't over, and he leaves a very confused looking Sting. The Icon moves on to threaten Christian and Kurt Angle. It's showtime. We're far from done here. It's a fatal 4-way up next. The Tiger Mask number 4 makes his TNA debut. He's facing Alex Shelley, the Warrior Loki, Senshi, and finally Jerry Lynn, who makes the girls grin. Lynn and Loki get us started. I'm sorry, the Hawk isn't going to call him Senshi, I'll just slip up. Lynn tries a crazy move very early where he goes around and around, but he still can't land the move unfortunately. Loki then does an armbar across the ropes, but then Shelley tags in. Lynn starts hitting him with arm drags. These guys are on fast forward, but not in a bad way. Jerry Lynn hits a big head scissors now, and it'll be time to see Tiger Mask. Shelley tells him to cross the line, but he's a heel, so he tags Loki. Loki does a headstand and kicks the Tiger in its fangs. Tiger gets tired of Loki and flips away from him and takes him out. Nice back leg sweep now and a drop kick too. Jerry Lynn tags in and it feels like everybody is just testing each other out so far. Jerry Lynn gets elevated across the ring by Tiger Mask. He misses a dive and Lynn almost rolls him up. Shelley tags Tiger Mask. Shelley grabs an eyelash, but this crowd are cheering for the heel Alex Shelley over everybody else. Tiger Mask comes back in and Shelley catches him with a stunner, but then the Tiger hits him back with a Pele kick and then a standing moonsault for a 2. Shelley comes back with a top rope jawbreaker. Tiger isn't hurt by that and he does a top rope butterfly suplex. Loki realises that Shelley is finished, so he breaks up the pin. Tiger misses him with a roundhouse kick and Loki hits a springboard kick. Nice reverse kick by Loki now and Shelley, and the levels have truly ramped up. Lynn stops Loki with a leg drop across the ropes, and then Tiger Mask stops his pile drive and he kicks Lynn away. Jerry Lynn is fine and he kicks Shelley away off the apron. Jerry Lynn now flips into the ring, taking out Tiger Mask and Loki at the same time. Lynn looks to have won with a TKO on Tiger, but somehow Shelley breaks up the pin. Shelley flips off Lynn but misses his kick. Lynn wants to fly, but it's Loki with a somersault kick to Jerry Lynn on the top rope. Tiger Mask stops Lynn's pile driver for the second time in this match, and Mask is thrown to the outside into Loki. Shelley kicks Lynn on the top rope, and there's the Frankensteiner, but Jerry Lynn rolls the pin through, and that's the 3. Alex Shelley is a bad loser, and he fails on a post-match beatdown, but Chris Sabin comes to the rescue of Shelley. Then Bob Backlund rescues Jerry Lynn. This is the start of the birth of the Motor City Machine Guns, as they were united in their hatred of old people. Really love this match. I don't think it was quite 4 stars, it needed an extra minute, but it was good for sure. 3.5 stars. The tag titles will be on the line next. Tomko has finally arrived at the building. He isn't happy about teaming with Steiner tonight. He says that Steiner thinks it was the Germans who bombed Pearl Harbor. Tomko is offended that he was called out for being late. He doesn't trust Steiner. The gold is decided in this triple threat tag match. The first challengers will be the Latin American Exchange, Homicide and Hernandez. The other challengers are Steiner and Tomko, and the champions are the Dudley Boys. They're actually in their first tag team title reign, and they are the first Grand Slam tag team champions. It doesn't start well for Homicide as Steiner hits him with a big Turtle Wheel Slam. Not sure if Steiner was supposed to fall over though. Bubba Ray makes a blind tag and he takes out Steiner with a German suplex. Steiner's embarrassed, he does a crazy suplex back to him. They start smashing into each other like morons until Homicide drop kicks them both away. The crowd sound their appreciation. Homicide and Steiner form some sort of alliance. Never thought I'd see Steiner working with a Mexican. Now some Steiner humour, shove it. They take turns smashing Bubba Ray Dudley. Bubba kicks Homicide away and then Devon comes in with the first tag of the match. The Dudleys barge Steiner down for a 2. Steiner manages to tag Tomko now and he does an out of control charge but runs into a power slam. He's not hurt and smacks Devon down. Hernandez makes a blind tag and slingshots into the ring with a shoulder tackle. Devon elbows him down for a 2. Steiner and Tomko drag Devon into the ring pole, nutsack first. Hernandez and Homicide then do some double teaming on Devon Dudley. Steiner fights with Devon. He drops the elbow and does some push-ups. Bubba Ray Dudley also does push-ups. Nothing happens for a bit now until a huge Hernandez top rope splash to Devon Dudley. The pin is broken up and Tomko makes sure that he's next into the ring. That fails for him though as Devon Dudley does a tornado DDT. Bubba Ray has a pretty nice hot tag as he back body drops Hernandez out of the ring and sends Homicide flying and DDTs Tomko out of his boots. Homicide comes back with a flying smack to Bubba Ray. Devon makes him disappear with a saving grace. Steiner also suplexes Devon overhead and Hernandez does a crazy derailer backbreaker to Scott Steiner. The Dudley Boys nail a what's up on Homicide and then the Dudleys hold the ring. They want a table now when Hernandez wipes them out with a dive to the outside. Steiner and Tomko start having a disagreement in the ring and they fail on a Doomsday double team, but Steiner kicks out of a victory roll. Steiner suplexes Homicide overhead and out of the ring and Steiner and Tomko go back to arguing. They try to get on the same page against Bubba Ray but they can't and Tomko boots Steiner in the face by mistake. The Dudley Boys hit the 3D to Tomko which is the finish. Of course the two hotheads start smacking each other like morons. Randomly, Rick Steiner is here helping his brother out. He hasn't been in TNA for years. Some huge moves in this match and this was really some great stuff, so much fun, and then you throw in the surprise of having Rick Steiner making the whole thing feel like more of a big deal. I have to give this another 4 stars, what a show. It's now time for Kurt Angle to stand around looking confused next to a fence. He makes fun of Sting for painting his face with paint from Walmart whilst looking like Ronald McDonald. Kurt Angle doesn't need special effects to be a wrestler. He doesn't hoot and holler like a biatch. Kurt Angle never fails to get a laugh out of the Hawk. It's yet another huge match. Oh, for the days when TNA could run a video package about their future prospects without any concern of losing the talents in their building. It's the phenomenal AJ Styles versus the Samoan submission machine Samoan Joe. Nothing on the line here except pride, and perhaps rumours that the winner will get a world title shot. Joe is just a bulldozer at this time, and he throws AJ around the ring with a chain of 5 moves, including a nice leg sweep which you don't normally see from Joe. Big kick in the corner from Samoan Joe now. AJ blocks his next kick and does his own leg sweep. AJ desperately tries to land a move next, instead Joe kicks him out of the ring. Joe follows him out there with a dive, which knocks Styles over the crowd barrier. Joe ain't hurt and he slams AJ back into the apron, but Styles starts playing possum claiming he's injured. The ref falls for it though as AJ Styles grabs an eyelash. Samoa Joe doesn't have eyelashes and he isn't affected. He follows AJ out of the ring and crushes Styles into the barrier. Now Joe seats him in a chair and he charges, but Styles has awoken. Styles takes the time to tell us how smart he is and hypes up his DVD. Back in the ring and Styles hits his dropkick that just about knocks Joe down. Joe misses a big kick now, allowing Styles to hit another kick. Styles does fail on a springboard, which Joe transitions into a big suplex for a double down. Back on their feet and AJ is still desperately trying to find an eyelash and failing. Joe catches him with the atomic drop. He misses a kick, but Styles keeps going and he runs into an overhead suplex. The back senton gets Joe a 2. AJ grabs a handful of nappy to throw Joe into the corner, but that doesn't work as Joe hits a snap slam for a 2. Styles nails the Pele kick now, shades of Tiger Mask. He springboards into the ring with a phenomenal forearm to the back of the head for a 2. AJ can't hit the inverted DDT, which Joe powers away, so AJ does that again and the second time is the charm. AJ keeps trying the Styles Clash now, but he fails and Joe reverses that into a Death Valley driver for a 2. They're both in pain. Styles sends Joe out the ring and Joe's leg seems to be hurting him. He makes it back into the ring just about at the count of 9. Joe begs and pleads with Styles in his nappy, but Joe is actually playing possum and he kicks Styles in the face. Or not, he wasn't playing possum because Joe charges and collapses to the mat. Styles is loving life now and he tries the spiral tap, which misses, and Joe was playing possum after all. Joe tells Styles how smart he is. Styles tries a spin kick which misses and Joe locks in the clutch and then randomly he throws him overhead with the suplex for the 3. Wow, what a match again. Whoever planned this one laid the seed so early with the I'm smarter than you gimmick, and Joe beat Styles at his own game. Whilst I loved it, these two did have some better matches, but I'd still give this one another 4 stars. We just have the main event left. But before we can get into that, another quick word from our sponsors.
Who's that wrestler?
Yeah, it was the Monster Abyss. If you got that wrong, I'd be pissed. It's a triple threat for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Or is it? I'll get onto that later. Kurt Angle is a challenger and the Icon Sting is the other challenger for Christian Cage's title. What a roster, man. This very same month in the WWE, their pay-per-view had the Great Khali versus John Cena as the main event. TNA really screwed themselves with their poor advertising. Christian just wants these two guys to fight. They realise this and they double smack him one. They launch Cage out the ring and turn their attentions back to each other. It's the Icon Sting with a big bulldog as the first big move. Sting heads up the ramp to find Christian. It doesn't go well for Sting and Christian returns to the ring where Angle immediately gives him an overhead belly to belly. Kurt Angle is stopped when he runs into the ring pole. Sting and Christian will fight now. Sting press slams Christian and it follows with a big elbow drop. The crowd roar at Sting with happiness. Sting gets a 2 now and a big middle rope splash. Kurt Angle stops the Sting onslaught and they aggressively fight on the outside where Kurt hits a damn Angle slam on the ramp. Kurt Angle charges back to the ring but Christian hits him with a diving back elbow for a 1 count. For the 5th match in a row, a snap slam is nailed, this time by Christian. Cage charges out the ring and he beats down further on Sting. They want him gone from this match. Christian starts getting cocky with Kurt Angle. Bad move as Kurt grabs him and hits 8 German suplexes in a row, even though Christian said no. Sting breaks up the pin for that one and he gets rid of Kurt. They do a superplex German suplex tower spot but Angle can't get the 3 on either guy. Christian is back and Angle grabs him and hurls him through the air like a piece of trash. Christian Cage still reverses him though. The Icon ends up destroying both guys in the corner at the same time and then he hits the death drop to Angle. Christian just about drags the referee off the pin. This is a ref bump. Kurt Angle ends up getting the ankle lock on both guys at the same time, but they both quickly roll him away. Sting hits the rock bottom to Christian, but still no ref. Sting now wastes time trying to revive the ref, which allows Christian to smack him in the slash zone. Sting reverses his umbrella into a roll-up and Kurt Angle has the ankle lock on Sting at the same time. The second referee arrives in the ring and there's a tap out and a pinfall finish at the same time. It's ruled that Kurt Angle has won and the crowd sound annoyed. The show goes off the air literally straight after, so I guess they ran out of time. That finish was horrible, way too convoluted, and it spoiled what otherwise was a really good match. I don't know, 3 stars because the finish was vile. There's a bit more to this though. Earlier that same day, the NWA separated from TNA and stripped their champions. So technically they were wrestling for nothing here. And Christian was stripped earlier that night, even though the NWA heavyweight belt was used in the shot. Kurt Angle would not become an NWA heavyweight champion. He was crowned the first ever TNA heavyweight champion on the next Impact. Then he was stripped again later that same night due to the double finish on this pay-per-view, only to win the vacant title back 2 days later. I do truly love Sacrifice 2007 minus the finish of the show. So many cool moves, so many moments, just seeing this company at its hottest. How did they drop the ball when they had so much going for them? I'd give this show 4.5 stars. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was about as good as you'd get for a TNA show. Let the Hawk know how you felt about this show. How did you feel about this roster, and can you believe how high TNA were riding at one time only to blow it? And if you don't agree with that, your girl will show it.